Welcome to Crimson Guitars, welcome to the Patreon Q&A, you fantastic people. Thank you again for your support. Okay, we have got a few questions here, talking about polishing frets. It's a question that I remember seeing, and I don't know who it's from, about precision and guitar building. And finally, there's another one talking about transferring a guitar design from plans to the actual timber that you're working on. And well, let's go from here. I think there's people thumping up my stairs carrying a heavy machine right now, so I'm going to have to go and open the door and we'll come back to this. I was right. I heard a big thump and a big thump and a big thump. Breathe.
Try and walk it to the door. Where's it going?
I haven't got a clue.
It's only the third time we brought it up and down, I think. Okay.
I don't keep on changing my mind, do I? I'm going to stop filming that. Okay, that's still in progress, but I want to get this filmed. As you can see, I've come in relatively early. It's the beginning of the day, and it's freezing up here in the middle of a cold snap, so I'm wearing more clothes than usual. Okay, I'm going to start off with a question from Eric Nadeau on fret polishing. He says, what is the grit from where you start just after the Crimson fret leveling file, and when do you stop the sandpaper to go to the Crimson fret erasers? It depends on the guitar. I tend to use the fret rubbers because I really can't be bothered to take the guitar and walk downstairs and get an angle grinder and a buffing wheel and all that sort of stuff. Oh, my phone is not on silent. Let me sort that out first. Undeniably, if you have access to a buffing machine or even a bench grinder with a soft polishing mop on it, stitched polishing mop, that will give you a high shine much faster. And you don't necessarily need the fret rubbers. Okay, so I'm biased. You know, the fret rubbers are excellent, and they definitely have a place, but there are faster ways to do it. So, having said that, what I tend to do is I will go leveling file, which is relatively coarse. It has to be. It's taking away metal, and it's a file. To leveling beam, or possibly even one of the new leveling files, which is sort of a cross between the two. Now, on the leveling beam, I will have 320, 400, 800, and I would probably polish the tops of the frets, which is what the leveling beam will touch, to about 800 grit, because I can. And at every stage, check it with a fret rocker and make sure that you're not creating rock in there. Now, I'm going to carry on talking while these boys set up the milling machine, because it's awesome. I desperately need to do a little bit more playing with building hand planes and stuff, and the machine wasn't being used downstairs, so it's come back up. Now, the problem is you do need to polish the sides of your frets as well, and if I'm using the fret rubbers, I'd use the leveling beam to about 700 or 800, and then just to be absolutely sure that the tops of the frets are polished and nice, I will then go with the fret rubbers from it's so difficult. It just depends on the instrument. I don't tend to use the coarse fret rubber. Medium fine and super fine are where I go. And before I do that, to get to the sides of the frets, I will use a 320 to 600 grit paper. And I tend to actually wrap that around. If the fretboard is masked off, I tend to wrap the 600 grit paper around the fret rubber and then get the edge of the fret like so, or possibly wrap it around a finger and just going up and down, which obviously negates the whole fret leveling beam. So now that I'm actually talking about it and thinking about it, what I would really do is leveling file, 320, 600 grit paper wrapped around my finger or a fret rubber, and go up and down and do the sides and the top and slightly round over the frets. This is of course after crowning, leveling file, then crowning, then polishing. And then I hit it with the leveling beam at 600 or 800. And finally, if I'm not going to buff up on a machine, which would be quicker, I will go fine and super fine on the fret rubbers. The sides of the frets are the issue. Polishing the sides of the frets, it's not ideal. Yeah, just keep an eye on what you've done, and you might have to go back in with some paper or all the fret rubbers, etc., and retouch up the odd side of a fret depending on where you are. It's a long job, and it's a job I really personally don't enjoy. I really don't enjoy fret work, which is strange, but there we have it. So yeah, fine, super fine, and even after super fine, I would go with a chrome polish, Autosol or something like that, and polish it right up. Now, having talked about that, and frets and polishing them and crowning and all that sort of stuff, I just wanted to talk about precision quickly. Half of guitar building, you have to be incredibly precise, okay? The positioning of the frets is the first one that obviously comes to mind. You really do need to be absolutely spot on and really concentrate on it. You really have to concentrate on where the nut is and where the bridge ends up, although obviously you've got some adjustment built into the bridge. You, however, almost everywhere else on the build, you don't have to be that precise. Now, you've heard me in the videos say precision in all things, and you know it's something I like and I like to say. But apart from those few things, and probably one or two that I haven't quite mentioned, the headstock break angle, for example, if you end up 1 degree or 2 degrees or even 3 degrees either way, you're probably not going to really notice it. There will be a slight tension difference, etc. But if you think, for example, with that, if you think about the headstock break angle, if you've got a 10-degree break, for example, and you put your string to the top of the tuner, the shaft of the tuner, there is a 2 or 3 degree difference between having only 1 or 2 winds around the string, assuming that the string is being pushed down by the top winds, or 4 or 5 or 6 winds. You know, the musician, him or herself, can actually change the break angle per string, depending on how they fit it. So us as a luthier, don't lose sleep over that angle. Get it, decide what you want. Okay, if you've got a trem, you want like 9 or 10. If you've got a fixed bridge, you can use 12 or 14, which increases the tension a little bit, etc. Choose roughly where you want to be, and then go with it. You know, if your wood is slightly smaller, make the angle slightly smaller. It's less acute. There we go. The same goes with the shape, really. You know, even this is an electric guitar. It really doesn't make much of a difference. Oh, it's warming up. The position of the pickups has to be relatively precise in order to get the sort of sounds you want and to look right. But again, it doesn't really matter too much. Now, what I'm saying is don't spend too much of your time worrying about things that don't have to be worried about. You know, if you're... It really is the bridge, the nut, the string spacing, that sort of stuff, worry about. Everything else, you can afford to be relaxed. And it's something I feel strongly about. You really do need to relax. Relax, damn it. Okay, this is the third question. Oh no, this one's from Eric Nadal as well. I'm running through the community tab that we didn't know existed, and he's posted rather a few questions to that, and I'm sorry we didn't answer them. I didn't know they were there. He says, going from plans to wood. What is the best way and the most accurate way to convert plans to templates and or guitar building woods? I can do quite well by drawing directly on the wood to rough cuts, but I can't accurately reproduce what I did. So my thoughts are, I need to build myself plans or templates, but I just can't figure out a way to build templates without destroying the plan itself. There are several techniques from the totally easy through to painstakingly difficult. I would always suggest go with the easy, and that is draw yourself out a full-scale plan, get it absolutely perfect, and then go down to your local print shop and have it photocopied 2 or 3 times. You keep your original for reference, and you glue your sacrificial plan, as it were, onto the MDF or even onto the guitar itself if that's what you need. If you're going to make more of these guitars, I would suggest making templates, and really I would do it that way. I'm fairly sure my print shop is £5 for a big A1 size photocopy, or A0 maybe? I'm not sure. It might be £8 or £10, but it's still, you know, it's reasonable for having the knowledge that you've got your plan saved and ready to go. Another option, and this is what we used to do with the violin making at Westdean College, is get a bradawl. That's not a bradawl, that's an engraving tool. It looked like a bradawl. And essentially tape your plan down onto the MDF or the wood, and then poke through your plan every 10 or 15 mil maybe around the circumference of everywhere that you want. Once you take the plan away, the plan's got small holes in it, that's fine. It doesn't make any difference really. And then you've got lots of points to do a dot to dot on the template. And you then draw, and you've got it precisely marked out. There are also leather stitching wheels. It's a handle with a wheel on it that's got spikes poking out of it. Those, if you get a good one that hasn't got much wobble in the wheel, those will transfer the lines. I think seamstresses or tailors use those as well to transfer plans across from a dressmaker's plan. Is it called a plan? Pattern, there we go, dressmaker's pattern. Google videos on that actually. That's something that I say a lot. Check out other crafts. Tailors and dressmakers transfer patterns across to fabric a lot. I suspect, and I really can't remember precisely, but I have a vague memory. I started using sewing machines when I was about 7, and my life was that for a while. I'm fairly sure they use this wheel to transfer the pattern through the paper into the fabric, and then chalk somehow through the holes, maybe. But I'm not entirely sure. So yeah, check that out. between those 2 or 3 methods, I think you'll be all right. Thank you very much for watching. I'm going to take my hat off now and do another video because it's slightly warmed up. I've got the heater about a foot behind my bottom here, and yeah, it's all good. So thank you for watching. Thank you for your support, and I will be back. I'll be back in about 4 minutes with the next round of questions, and then we've got 2 weeks of questions saved and sorted, and I'm not going to miss my deadline, which is really important to me. See you soon. Goodbye. No, nope, still too cold.